ICSI welcome all its viewers on our YouTube live channel. And every Sunday we bring for you a webinar series on NRIs for Indian education and skills. And from couple of Sundays, we are in conversation. We are in talk with Dr. PRIYA VISWESWARAN ji. She's MD, nephrologist, and board certified internist from and also director of Immortality Institute, Houston, Texas, USA. And she's telling us about the new avenues for educators, specifically post-pandemic periods. And that covers neuro coaching, cellular health coaching, functional medicine coaching, reverse aging coach, dietary metabolic coach, and a lot many other things. And the way she's telling what we can do and how the educators can bring such type of an innovation in their education and in their teaching and in their learning process with educators and with the learners, the students, that will really be helpful, and specifically in dealing with the mental stress, mental wellness, stress management, anxiety management concept when we talk about that thing, particularly in education. So we are thankful to ma'am. And to start with, before I'll hand over the platform to Dr. PRIYA VISWESWARAN ji, I would want to show a few slides of ICSI working, functioning, and the significance of the day with all of you. And then we'll straight away move to Dr. PRIYA VISWESWARAN. So to begin with, the significance of 1st May is a new month, very first day of this new month. And today we can call it as the May Day, or maybe the Labor Day, or International Workers' Day. But it has a significance for all of us, because we all are doing some or the other kind of a work for our country, for our people, for ourselves, for our livelihood. But at the same time, we are contributing towards the betterment of humanity. And that's what is significant. No work is insignificant. All labors that uplift humanity has dignity and importance. So this is a significance. You can call it anything, Labor Day, May Day, or International Workers' Day. But remember that whatever you are doing, do it with total dedication, total sincerity, and that will bring a peace of mind and a happiness in true sense to all of you. So with this, ICSI congratulate everyone on this May Day, and we are pledged towards making education relevant with all the members of our global family. And that's why we bring different flavors of webinars throughout the week for all of you. And 2022 has been dedicated for teachers and youth empowerment. And we believe that different components of service industry, and specifically when we talk about education services, and in coinciding that with skills, with technology, with MSME, with research and innovation, and more specifically health and wellness, I think then when we combine everything into education, because ultimately if we see in a broader sense or in a very micro sense, you can talk about the broader perspective and you can talk about the micro perspective also. But if we combine everything with education, only then education can become relevant and can contribute towards making our Bharat, our own Bharat, as Atmanirbhar Bharat. And as we are celebrating our independence, 75th year, we are into the 75th year of India's independence, and Amrit Kal is going on, and we are celebrating Amrit Mahotsav. So all our webinars and all our talks, dedicated towards that thing only. And we believe that our country can prosperous lot and lot if we all think positive and if we all think in the right direction towards making our country a really worth saying that Atmanirbhar and Vishwaguru. So whatsoever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And this is a truth, a very, very Am I audible? Okay, I'm so sorry. My voice has gone in between. So I was telling you that this is something very important that we have to believe. And if we believe, definitely we can achieve. You can give us your valuable suggestion on the given email ID and the WhatsApp number. And we are pleased to inform that with your love, with your affection, and with your suggestions, we have completed our 155, that is 1555 webinars starting from 25th March. And all these webinars are available on YouTube ICSI channel. And you can subscribe that, you can watch those videos, you can like them, and you can share them with your friends and near ones. So as I was telling, we are going to cover all these aspects. Ma'am is very kind with us to share her knowledge, her experience, and to work something for the betterment of education and the educators in the field of neuro coaching, cellular health coaching, functional medicine coaching, reverse aging coaching, and dietary metabolic coaching. And she's making us understand very basics about these things and what can we do and how can we incorporate these things into our education ecosystem. So please put your hands together with me to welcome Dr. PRIYA VISWESWARAN ji. Very good evening, ma'am. We are happy.
Thank you so much, Chitraji. What a wonderful, warm welcome. I always feel like a queen every time I come here on Sundays. I want to be able to be worthy of your respect and reverence and your affection. And it's just so heartwarming to receive such a warm and loving welcome. May I say that? It's just very, very heartwarming. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for such a warm welcome.
Ma'am, you are our mentor, our coach, our guide for this program. So we are very happy to have you here.
Wonderful. I feel so lucky and blessed to be here. I just feel, you know, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to speak on, you know, these topics that are so dear and near to me, and to do it with the dearest people in my heart, which is my Indian brothers and sisters. So I feel very, very lucky and blessed to have this opportunity to be here. I want to wish everybody very happy Labor Day, May 1st, however it is celebrated. So without further ado, if you would like me to, I can go ahead and get started. It is quite a bit of content, and the slides are not, you know, maybe they're packed with information today. So I wanted to take a sort of a different approach to today's topic. And so, Chitraji, if do I have the ability to share?
Yes.
I do. Okay, terrific. Thank you. So I'm actually going to, just 1 second, please. I'm going to pull up the slides.
We are looking forward to see that and hear from you.
Thank you. So today I'm going to talk about aging reversal coaching. This is a very, very near and dear topic to me. I don't think I can finish talking about it in one session, but I really appreciate the opportunity that you've given me to speak about this. This is a very, very dear topic to my heart. And one of the main reasons I think that you will enjoy this topic is because there is a lot of new information, or a sort of new aggregation of old information, shall we say, that I wish to share with you all today. So I just wanted to start off with a little pop quiz and ask you, what your thoughts were on how to teach a person to reverse aging. What is the single most important thing to teach somebody to reverse aging? Okay, 1 second, Chitraji. I'm going to do a slideshow. I am looking for the correct button here.
Yes, ma'am.
From beginning, right?
No, ma'am, from not from the beginning, from the current slide.
Oh, okay, yes. So how do I'm just trying to figure out how to do that. Just one.
No problem, ma'am. You can press from current slide, the next one.
From current slide. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Thank you, Chitraji.
My pleasure.
So here is a small pop quiz. What is the single most important thing we can teach somebody to do to reverse aging, right? Number one, enjoy life more with physical activities, hiking and club memberships and meetings and visiting with friends. Number two, watch the White House correspondents' dinner speeches and laugh away their worries and enjoy their grandchildren more. Okay, I guess I left number C out. I think I merged C and B together. So item number D, wake up earlier, meditate, sleep enough number of hours, and do some walking every day and use mindfulness much more. Next point, strength training and lifting weights. Next point, take creatine, vitamin B12 and vitamin D supplements and do intermittent fasting. So I want you to choose an answer. And if we had been high tech on this, I would have given you a poll and I'd have seen how many of you are choosing which option and everything like that.
Everyone is choosing. Can I tell them?
Yes.
So please. Everyone, most of them, they are choosing D, and a few of them is writing about A also. So D.
Oh, and A. Very nice. Oh, very, very nice. I'm so happy to hear that. You know, actually, all of you are right, because all of these topics are right, but there is one that is a head and shoulders above everybody else, and I'm not even covering it on this class. Right. And so I'm going to tease and prolong the suspense just a little bit. And because I'm not going to be able to teach it in today's class, there is so much material to cover that we are going to Chitraji, I don't know how much additional opportunities you're going to give me to keep coming back, but
we are eager to know more and more from you. So everything is for you. So we will subsequently cover it in later weeks also.
Okay, great. So I will tell you the answer, and that's why I'm going to keep this. But I want to tell you that every choice you choose is correct. So all of these choices are actually correct. But there is one choice that is a head and shoulders above all of these choices. And so that is the one I'm going to cover in the next class. Okay, so having said that, we will move on. I want to share with you, these are some, you know, the National Institute of Aging here in America said there are 5, actually they said there are 10 common myths about aging. And we will train the coaches to go over the common myths as it pertains to India. So here in America, they say number one myth is people think as they get older, they'll need less sleep. But actually older adults need at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. And adequate sleep can reduce their risk of falls, improve the overall mental health and well-being, and reduce the risk for certain health conditions. And if the quality of sleep is not good, then sleep testing needs to be done. Number 2 myth is that depression is normal in older adults. Depression is a common mood disorder, but it is not a normal part of aging. And of course, if somebody feels irritable or less energy, or they, you know, they're sad or whatever it is, that is not normal. Okay. Now, I will go so far as to tell you that even aging itself is not normal. And I'm going to explain to you this rationale. Again, I'm going to keep that for the next class because it is an unbelievable sort of new theory of aging, new breakthrough in aging that the Immortality Institute has put forward into medicine. Okay. And I think you will get a lot of enjoyment out of hearing that theory. And you will get a lot of peace and a lot of really good feeling in the heart. So I can't wait to share that with you. But right now, there are so many great people who have come ahead of us. We need to review their work. Myth number 3, older adults cannot learn new things. What is the ability to learn new things called, Chitraji? in the brain, the rewiring. What is that called?
Creativity.
Yes. And there's a, in the neurosciences, they have a word called neuroplasticity, the
Right.
ability to learn new things, create new circuits, different
Yes.
ways of doing the same thing. Like you wake up and instead of brushing with your right hand, you start brushing with your left hand. And every day you're doing it. By the time it's 1 year, it's as good as your right hand brushing, right? Or you start writing with your left hand. That ability to create a new circuit for doing either same things or new things, different things, that is neuroplasticity. Old
Right.
adults can not only learn new things, they can create new fields. In fact, there was a piece of data I wanted to share with you about some of the greatest American entrepreneurs and what age they became successful or what age they even started. Many of them started after the age of 50. The golden decade of a human being's performance is actually in the decade of 70, like in the decade of 60 to 70 or so. Actually, a very close second is 50 to 60 and 70 to 80. So these decades are the greatest decades of human performance. So no, not at all. We can learn new things. We can improve our memory. We can improve our performance on a variety of skills. Age is really but a number in today's world. Okay. Memory problems always means Alzheimer's disease? Absolutely not. There are many other causes of memory conditions. In fact, the most common cause of memory problems is the use of medications, excuse me, that are prescribed. Prescribed medications by doctors like me is the most common cause of memory loss, such as statins, drugs such as statins to lower bad cholesterol or LDL cholesterol. That is actually a very common cause of memory problems. The second thing is nutritional deficiencies. So there are many more common causes, such as vitamin B12 deficiency, such as vitamin D deficiency. These vitamin deficiencies can cause memory loss, memory problems. They can even cause the mood disorders. And so it does not always mean Alzheimer's. Here in America, Alzheimer's is a big problem. It's not a problem so much in India. Older adults do not need to exercise. So older adults have a lot to gain by being active and a lot to lose by sitting too much. In fact, they say sitting is the new equivalent of smoking as far as death is concerned and disease is concerned. When we sit for prolonged periods of time at our desk, then we are actually predisposing ourselves to death almost as if we are smoking. It is that deleterious to our health, right? So if we keep going on this, there are so many more myths according to the National Institute of Aging. If a family member has Alzheimer's or other cause of dementia, I will have it too. Not at all. First of all, I mean, even though there may be some genetic connections, there are many causes of dementia. Again, like I said, nutritional being the number one possible cause. Now that I'm older, I will have to give up my driving or independence. Here in America, if they have poor vision, they don't wear glasses, or they're not able to use judgment. They do driving tests periodically after a certain age. And, driving is one of the crucial independent skills to be able to live here, right? And in fact, out of 221 million drivers in a population of 340 million, 40 or nearly 42 million are over the age of 65. So not at all. Actually, we can learn to drive after a certain age. Why not, right? Only women need to worry about osteoporosis. Again, this is a disease here that's fairly common. But over the age of 50, 20% of men will have one fracture related to osteoporosis in their lifetime. So that's not a small number of people, right? And by the age of 65 to 70 years, men and women lose bone at the same rate. Risk factors are not enough calcium, not enough vitamin D, certain drugs, smoking, alcohol, low testosterone, all of these cause osteoporosis, right? Now, I will be presenting to you some quite incredible data on why this osteoporosis and this bone loss and all that is not universal to everybody. Next class, okay? Next myth, I'm too old to quit smoking. That's not true. Anybody can quit at any time. At any time when they quit, it improves their health dramatically, their lifespan dramatically, their health span dramatically. Health span is good, healthy life. Lifespan is just the length and number of years. Health span is really good, healthy life. Here's another myth. My blood pressure has gotten low, returned to normal, so I can stop taking my medication. Come on, you all. Everybody knows that's not true, right? I don't have to make this as a myth and present it to you as a point, but the National Institute of Aging here does. Okay. So let's look at some theories of aging. Again, the coaches will be taught all this, and they may or may not choose to present all this to their clients or patients. You look at that contrast in the two hands, right? How many differences can you see, Chitraji? I'm going to ask you and our audience. Audience, please tell us how many differences can you see in the two hands?
Okay.
Between the hand on the left and the hand on the right. I'm not going to label it as young and old. These are all just useless labels in this day and age. As the director of the Immortality Institute, I can tell you, useless labels are useless. They don't serve a purpose, right? I'm just going to say hand on the left and hand on the right.
Okay.
So any answers, Chitraji? People are they weighing in and sharing with us what their thoughts are?
Ma'am, the very first thing is wrinkles.
Yes.
Yes. And the size of the fingers, they are reduced.
Yes.
And
that's because the muscle is wasted. So the muscles that supply the fingers are no longer as thick as on the left hand side. Yes,
and
go ahead.
the flesh is much more towards the left hand side, the younger,
Yes.
and the flesh
Yes.
is
So in the palm,
with,
you can see all this hollowing out. This is all, these muscles are called interossei, and they are wasted away. You're right. And see this, you can see the tendons, right?
yes,
Of
ma'am.
the extensor digitalis longus muscle.
And even we can see the veins.
Yes. So the connective tissue is gone. So all this plump looking flesh, it's packing material, right? When you're sending something by mail or courier, you're putting some, some peanuts, like nuggets or whatever, the styrofoam peanuts, or you're wrapping it in a bubble wrap. This hand has it and this hand has much less. Absolutely. I'll point out to some other things, Chitraji. Here, do you see these nodes at the interphalangeal joints? This is also a sign. These are called Heberdin's nodes, and they are not normal part of aging. They are not normal.
Okay. Okay.
And here you can see easy bruisability also. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So here we have, there are some curves related to aging here. The curve number 1, this is a dark line. The modern non-programmed aging theory, it's the evolutionary value of further life and reproduction is effectively 0 beyond a certain age, and that is species specific. So that is, if a person lives beyond a certain age, they're not going to make babies. And that age is determined whether we are humans or chimpanzees or baboons or rats or whatever it is, mammals, right? So that is one theory. Then modern programmed aging theory, then this is this curve, okay? And this one says there's an evolutionary cost associated with surviving beyond a certain species-specific age. There is a cost to what? To the ecosystem, to the species, to the individual himself or herself, beyond this so-called optimum lifespan. And then you have Medawar's concept. The evolutionary value of survival and reproduction declines beyond a certain age and follows a species-specific age. And that is this curve, okay? So you have advantage on this side, you have disadvantage on this side. As a lifespan increases, you can see that in earlier days, this curve would have been here. These curves would have intersected a lot closer. And as science and times have progressed, they are intersecting a lot further here. Goldsmith's review of modern programmed theories of biological aging investigate how organisms have evolved mechanisms that purposely limit their lifespans in order to obtain an evolutionary benefit. Wow. So what they're saying is the organism itself chooses to die for the greater good and for its own good. An evolutionary benefit on what? Right? This is the part that the West will never go near, but India has gone and played like anything in this area, the soul part, right? So I'm going to intersperse this theories of aging along with another thing. Before we even move forward, I want to ask you, what is the definition of aging? What is the generally sort of accepted definition of aging? I'm not going to give you a very precise definition because there isn't one that is a short, nice, soundbite, precise definition. There's a long, paragraph long definition for it. But if you want to hazard a guess, what would you say is a definition of aging?
When we are increasing in our numbers, that is aging.
Yes.
Like 16
so
to 20.
our reduction in certain key cellular organ and organism level of functionality accompanied by increased vulnerability of the cell, organ system and organism to certain environmental and external assaults to the integrity of the organism. That is how aging is defined.
But many times we have seen even the people who have reached into their 90s or maybe late 80s, they are also fit, fine, properly walking, doing all their works.
Yes, that is why I have respectfully submitted that aging itself is an anomaly. It is not a normal condition of the human body.
Right.
Aging is not normal. It's not just the kind of aging or the age at which all this starts to happen. If you look at 100-year-old people with hip fractures, 98 of them may die of the hip fracture, but 2 of them will live. And that is normal. Rather than calling that a miracle, we should call that as normal. And we have to ask, what happened to the 98 whose hip fracture did not heal and they died from it? What was blocked in them? That is the new approach that we are giving here at the Immortality Institute. And we are calling this the final common pathway of organismal disease, aging, and demise. And we are saying that there is a block to regeneration. And depending on where the block is, the organism either gets disease or ages and dies, or both. There's more here, and we will come to that. So I'm going to intersperse the theories of aging. There are many slides in this particular series, and I'm going to intersperse it with something called blue zones. There is a man by the name of Dan Buettner, who was asked, he's a National Geographic fellow, and he was asked by, he's a reporter actually, and he was asked by these entities that he works for to find out where are people living long, healthy lives and what are some common traits for all these people, right? And so he went and he found 5 places that met the criteria. And the criteria was the highest proportion of people reach the age of 100. So here in the United States, apparently every year 70,000 people are reaching the age of 100 years of age. 70,000 out of 300. Well, the population is 340 million, but how many would become eligible to become 100 years, right? That's what we should look at. So very small percent of that population, but 70,000 of those people reach the age of 100, okay? And I need to study the population data in India, so forgive me, I don't have that number in India. But that was the criteria. What percentage of the population reaches the age of 100? The highest number of people who reach that. And what he found was there are 5 such places, okay? And the 5 places are in Italy, in a place called Inner Sardinia, Barbagia region of Inner Sardinia, the Aegean island in Greece, Loma Linda in California, Nicoya Peninsula, Costa Rica, and Okinawa, Japan. So just to sort of, I'm sorry, I didn't put this in a slide, but this is kind of the blue zone theory of why they are living so long, right? So the Barbagia region of Sardinia, this is a mountainous highland. This is like Nepal area of Inner Sardinia with the highest concentration of the world's male centenarians. So centenarian is people who reach 100 years of chronological age. So the highest number of men who reach the age of 100 is in Barbagia region of Sardinia. Okay. In Aegean island in Greece, the world's lowest rates of middle-age mortality and lowest rates of dementia. Okay. In the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, the world's lowest rates of middle-age mortality, that is where people die in middle age, and second highest concentration of male centenarians. And the Seventh-day Adventists, highest concentration in and around Loma Linda, California. They live 10 years longer than everybody that lives in Loma Linda, California, that does not practice their religious belief called Seventh-day Adventists. In Okinawa, Japan, women over 70 are the longest lived population in the world. And so once they found these regions, they assembled a team of medical researchers, anthropologists, demographers, epidemiologists, and others to search for evidence-based common denominators between all of the places. And they found 9. So these are based on evidence, on science of what is it that they're all doing that is in common, either in their own region or in all of the regions across the regions that matters, that is scientific, that is statistically significant. What are they doing differently than people who are not reaching the age of 100 in regions near them, or even in the same region who don't have the same belief systems or practices, right? And so one of the first topic that came up was moving naturally. Okay. Right. Sorry, Chitraji?
Hanji, yeah. I said yes, Anji.
Yeah. So the world's longest living people do not pump iron, run marathons, or join gyms. Instead, they live in environments that constantly nudge them into moving without thinking about it. They grow gardens and they don't have mechanical tools or conveniences for house and yard work.
Right.
So they are bending and mopping and sweeping the floor. They are washing their clothes with their hands and hanging it out to dry. They are washing the dishes themselves and not putting it in a dishwasher. Yeah, they're doing all that, and they are gardening. So the world's longest lived people are moving naturally. If they have to buy bread or chapati, whatever they're buying, I don't know, some vegetables, whatever, they are either walking or getting on a bicycle and going to the nearest grocery store. There is no car or bus or anything. They are moving naturally everywhere, right?
Right, ma'am.
Then the second 2 topics is they have the right outlook. So they have a purpose in life. And the greatest example for us for purpose is Gulshanji. Look at how he is there from morning to night, and he has a deep desire to help Mother India, and you, Chitraji, working along with him. And this purpose is making you be there early morning to late night, listening to people like, who may or may not be saying interesting things. And, you are so passionate about delivering value to your audience and to the viewers of this. That purpose is driving you. It is bigger than us. It is bigger than anything we could have imagined ourselves to be. So the Okinawans call it Ikigai, and the Nicoyans call it Plan the Vida. For both, it translates as why I wake up in the morning. Yes? Right. Knowing, yes?
Right, ma'am. That's wonderful. The meaning that you told us, that why we are
So cute, right? They have a beautiful reason to wake up in the morning. Oh my God, these people are waiting for me. I have to go help them. Oh my God, how exciting. Life is so fun. I have something, I'm useful. I have something to give. People need me. I don't care who it is. Somebody needs me somewhere and they're waiting for me. How exciting, right? So knowing a sense of purpose is worth 7 additional years of life expectancy. 7 additional years.
Right. There's
Can you
something
imagine?
very valuable, ma'am. That's,
Profound.
yes, ma'am.
Totally profound. I have a training on this. I went through this training at the age of 37. I didn't know the purpose of my birth until I went through that training.
Okay.
And now I understand it. And as I've gotten older, I've really, the meaning of that has gone into the deepest layers of my tissue, and my bone marrow and everything. Now I really understand the purpose of my birth. And it is a training. Sometimes it is there in the subconscious, and it is a culmination or the accumulation of all of life's exposures and experiences, why you went through. There is not one mistake in any of our lives. We go through this, that, everything. And all of it, when we add it up, that is giving us our purpose. So there is a training for this. And someday I hope to bring that training to India. In fact, long ago, 15 years ago, when I went through that training, I took a vow that when I'm 60 to 70 years of age, I will be bringing that purpose training to India. So in less than 10 years, I mean, there are already people doing it now, but for me, I would like to do that in less than 10 years time. There are already people doing it. So I'm not keeping it from India or anything, but I also want to do it for India, because this purpose training is just mind blowing. If you understand why when we understand why we were born, or why we went through this life of suffering, hardship, and all these ups and downs in our lives, and all of us have downs, and all of us have some really low bottoms, and all of us have some also good things on the top. So why is that, right? That is that purpose training, and it's a beautiful training, and it's just like the lotus flower in our heart blossoms when we go through that, when we find our purpose. It's a beautiful thing. So the next part of the right outlook is something called downshift, right? Even people in blue zones experience stress. Stress leads to chronic inflammation associated with every major age-related disease. What the world's longest lived people have are routines that shed stress. Okinawans take a few moments each day to remember their ancestors. Adventists pray. Icarians take a nap. And Sardinians do a happy hour. So whatever we do on a habitual basis, daily basis, to reduce that stress, reduces the inflammation and gives us a longer life. Interesting?
Yes, ma'am. Totally.
Fascinating, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then here we have eat wisely. And here there are 3 rules.
Yes.
So there is something called 80% rule. Hara Hachi Bu. The Okinawan 2500-old Confucian mantra said before meals reminds them to stop eating when their stomachs are 80% full. Hara Hachi Bu. Hara Hachi Bu. Stop eating when the stomach is full at 80%.
Okay.
They say that mantra before they start to eat. They will remind themselves that it takes some time for the brain to catch up with the knowledge that the stomach is already full.
Right.
So if we eat until we are 100% full, then actually we are 120, 140% full, the size of more than the stomach can actually hold. Because the time that it takes for the stomach to communicate, convincingly to the brain is about that 20 minutes time. That's also why they say chew your food, because you want your stomach to be full, smallest amount of food that it can be full with, right? Right. Not with the most amount of food. Are we living in some, famine land? No, this is not like how they had a deer if they go hunting. and they get a deer home, and they have to quickly eat the deer before it gets spoiled. So the first day they will all eat to 200% stomach fullness. The second day it'll be 150%. The third day it'll be 120%, like that. No, it's not those kind of times. If we need food, there is, thankfully there is food. Thank you God, you know. So the 20% gap between not being hungry and feeling full could be the difference between losing weight or gaining it. See how profound that is?
Yes, ma'am.
People in the blue zones eat their smallest meal in the late afternoon and early evening, and then they don't eat anymore the rest of the day. So this is what 80% means. Eating only to 80% fullness. So you delay it, you chew more, you become more aware, you're present when you're eating your meal. You're not also reading a paper or a book or watching TV or talking on the phone. When you're eating, you are fully conscious that this food is going towards your building blocks in your body. So you're paying it the respect that it is going to regenerate your body, right? You're aware of it. You're aware that you don't need, you have internalized on the deepest cellular level that 20% that you're not eating is a great thing, because that's actually 20% more than fullness, and it is going to go towards weight gain. And you also eat your smallest meal in the late afternoon or early evening. So actually here in the United States, do you know what dinner time is?
Yes, ma'am. What is the time?
5:36 in the evening.
Okay.
Nobody eats. I mean, most people don't. I mean, people who have a orderly life, they don't eat at 7, 7:30, 8, 8:30, 9, 10. Good families have already, by 6 p.m. they would have already eaten dinner here.
Ma'am, I want to ask one question related to that. Today, most of the young people, young generation, they eat in a small breaks, like they have eaten just, and then after 1 hour they want to have something, then after that, so they can have lot many meals in a day. Is that good or is that bad?
This is a very good question, and I actually have the slides from a study called Calorie, Calerie, not calorie like we spell it, but Calorie. This is the name of the study, and it shows very clearly that intermittent fasting and total calorie restriction, it not only prolongs life, it also makes life disease free. So in general, young people, it may not make that much of a difference, but the study was done in young people with no health problems. And I want to show you the results of that study. And so that is the problem, is when, you know, when we're talking about healthy habits, right? Doing the right thing for our health, right? We don't get feedback until 30 or 40 years later that these habits or these things that we were doing were not good for our health. By then, already the health is declined and aging has set in. And so how do we teach these things, right? So part of the aging reversal coaching would be to get the participants to internalize on a deep level how important the understanding of this is and the implementation of it is. Not sometimes, all lessons have to be repeated 7 times for the student to get it into their heads. 7 times.
Okay.
Imagine if you have adult learning classes like aging coaching. Let's say we're not teaching this to young people, but I think we should teach it to our young people, and we should repeat it many times, because we want it to go to the deepest layer of cell, this understanding. And when they understand it, it will become automatic. And where there's no punishment, you know, we just say, oh, gently prefer this choice. Why? Because it will give you 7 years more of life. You have much, you can do all this hiking, climbing, you can lift your grandchildren, you can go, whatever you do, you know, you can go whitewater rafting, you can go parasailing, you can go mountain climbing, you can visit Himachal Pradesh, like where you are, and do all those wonderful things. But if you choose to fill the stomach to 100%, if you choose to have a late night meal, you won't be able to do that with your children, grandchildren, wife, husband. And they'll have to put you on a bucket and carry you, you know, whatever. So we have to give the contrast to them, and it has to be presented again and again and again. And even to older adults who are taking this, they will understand it, right? So eat the smallest meal in the late afternoon or early evening and nothing after that. That's so important to living long.
Ji.
Then their diet has a plant slant, meaning they're mostly eating plants. They are not eating pork, chicken, definitely not beef. Beef has been associated with so much of illness. By the way, I have to tell you, I know so many vegans now in America, and I know so many vegans now in Europe. Instagram is full of these people, vegan chefs that are teaching one another how to eat without even a single animal product in their diet, not even things like honey or milk or cheese or anything. And there are huge multi-million, even billion-dollar corporations that are creating products that are like milk, like cheese, like yogurt, from nuts, cashew nuts and coconut, and even from oats. You know, they're taking all these plant-based products and turning them into things that look like dairy. And the reason for that is people have understood that when we eat plants, we are more likely to live longer. When we eat animals, we are more likely to die sooner. Let me give you an example. This was a talk that I was listening to by Sadhguru the other day. And he said, the difference between if you eat a plant versus if you eat a cow, the amount of water that the plant consumes is maybe, you know, that is if you're eating only plants in a year, the amount of water needed to grow the plants that one human being eats in a year is 1,500 liters. But if that same person is eating meat every day for every meal, here in America, it's mostly beef, the amount of water is 150,000 liters in a year. You know, it's like 100-fold increase in the amount of water that you need, because that cow will eat the grass. Somebody has to grow that grass, water that grass, and all of the pesticides in the grass, all of the poisons in the soil that is concentrated in the meat in that cow. Now, I'm not presenting any religious viewpoint. I'm not saying don't do this or don't do that. I'm just presenting the findings of the blue zones. Okay.
Yes,
beans, including, yes, Chitraji?
Yes, ma'am. That's true.
Isn't it? So true. So beans, including fava beans, black beans, soybeans, lentils, all our mung dal and our masoor dal and everything, they are the cornerstone of most centenarian diets. They are the most important part of their meals. Meat, mostly pork, is eaten on average only 5 times a month. Serving sizes are small, like a card of decks. People in all blue zones except Adventists drink alcohol moderately and regularly. So this is the wine at 5. Okay. And the moderate drinkers outlive the non-drinkers. The trick is to drink 1 to 2 glasses per day, preferably, Sardinian Canono wine with friends and or with food. So if you're eating at 5 o'clock, have a glass of wine is what they are saying. Okay, I don't subscribe to the alcohol theory, but anybody is welcome to. And you can't save it up and drink 14 drinks all at once on Saturday. It has to be 1 small glass of wine or whatever every day, according to them, right?
Ma'am, here I want to ask a question. It has been noticed and it has been read that if we drink tea with the milk tea, compared to that, if we drink green tea, so green tea is much more healthier. So
absolutely,
what do you have to tell us about the benefits of having green tea and not the tea with the milk?
Yeah, so green tea has catechins, and these are associated with reduction in inflammation, global reduction in inflammation. Sorry. I will present more data on that to you next time, because it is actually very convincing data. Green tea has a real and definite role, and as you're very wisely suggesting, it can take the place of alcohol.
Right.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Thank you. Yeah, I will present the data.
Right. Sure, ma'am.
So all but 5 of the 263 centenarians belong to some faith-based community.
Mm-hmm.
The denomination did not seem to matter. And they attended faith-based services 4 times a month. Once a week, they attended the faith-based service.
Okay.
And this added 4 to 14 years of life expectancy.
Okay.
So that's why they do the church Sunday services here, because a sense of belonging. And do you know, in those church services, they actually take the name of each person who is suffering or asking for the whole group of them to pray for them. And they will say, okay, so and so has just gone through, been diagnosed with cancer. Will everybody pray for them? That person is getting some relief from that, you know. Or so and so, their child just went to join the army and they're really suffering because the child left, whatever. So one thing is that these are all good practices that we can learn from other cultures as well. I'm not saying that this is the best. There are so many ways to be the best. There are infinite number of ways to be the best, so we can learn. That's all. There's no better, worse, or anything like that. So but it's adding 4 to 14 years of life expectancy. Then this concept of loved ones first, right? So connecting with faith, connecting with loved ones. So successful centenarians in the blue zones put their families first. This means they kept their aging parents and grandparents nearby or in the same home. What is this called in India?
Joint family culture.
Yes, joint families. And there was in the Hindu community, it's called Hindu undivided family.
Yes.
Why? They knew it lowers the disease and the mortality rates of the children in the home. Because the children don't suffer, the children don't get disease. Because parents are young. Many times parents don't know, they don't have the experience, they don't have the wisdom. They've not, 20 years has not been added after they were parents to know, oh my God, this child has diarrhea, the child needs to be admitted, needs IV fluids. Now, take it and run. It's not drinking, the eyes are sunken in, the skin turgor is gone, whatever, The older people know that. My life was saved because we lived in a joint family. It's not because my parents didn't know. My father worked really hard, really busy. My mother had 3 children. So you're not, and you're young, right? Then the older people, they come and we were in a joint family. So my father's parents were there, but my mother's mother came and she saw me and she said, take this child and go to the hospital now. She's going to die if you don't give her IV fluids. She's that sick. So you see, it matters to have older people around us. The young children will not die. They're much less likely to die if older people are around. Yes. Then the older people, when they have a life partner for 50 years, whatever it is, that adds 3 years of life expectancy. You'll find here in America, there's data. A lot of divorces happen when people turn 50, around that age. Why? Because they marry when they're very young, in their 20s, they have children, and then they stay together because their careers are climbing, and the wife's career is climbing, and socially they're both climbing as a couple. They have the couple friends and they have all the children. There are no older people in these circles most of the time. They have their own circles, and some of the time there are. And then what happens is they reach a certain age and suddenly they find that the wife and the husband are very, very different. And what they find is the man has certain views. He wants certain things out of life, and the woman wants certain totally other things in life. And invariably, it's the woman who ends up leaving the man. Sometimes it's the other way also. But these men who are alone and they're 50 and older, they're much more likely to die of a heart attack sooner because they don't have their life partner. They need that energy and that input that person is giving in their lives. And some sooner or later it'll also catch up with women. But my point here is that having that life partner, putting your loved one first, what does that mean? You know, teaching our people to put our loved ones first, right? Because we are always in the business of saying no to ourselves and our loved ones and saying yes to everybody else first, isn't it? That's our culture, isn't it? And nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful culture, but a little bit of change and a little bit of attention to our partner who's lifelong. Good morning, dear. Did you sleep well? Can I get you a cup of tea or coffee? Let's sit and talk about the children. Let's look at some photo albums. Something just shows that other person that our heart is with them, that we love them, we care for them, we are there for them, make them feel safe, make them feel wanted, needed, and seen and heard. We have to do that first for our loved ones, isn't it? So these are all life skills, and they add to lifespan and health span too. And people who live together, older, younger people like that, they invest in their children much more time and love. I'll give you a very powerful story in my own life. Like I said, I grew up in a joint family. I was so lucky and blessed. Very few people, even in my age, had a joint. I mean, my father was very particular that the children should grow up around the grandparents, and he understood the importance of it. And he was the sole breadwinner for everybody. Not at one point, it was my grandparents, it was my mother, the three of us, and his sister and her husband and her two children who lived next door, and the households, everybody who worked for the two households. He was the sole breadwinner for everybody, some 14 or 17 people. I think I didn't even count, but a lot of people lived off of one man's salary. And it wasn't much, but there was enough love and enough of sharing and caring to go around for the whole family. And I remember I used to play basketball in high school, and I would come home. My school would end at 1 o'clock. We started school at 7 in the morning. School would end at 1. And I would play until about 3 or 4 o'clock basketball. I would come home and I was drenched in sweat, from head to toe because of hot sun in Madras at 1 to 4 in the afternoon. And so as soon as I would come home, I would have 4, 5 adults there in the house. Here, drink some water, have some, buttermilk, and go here, some clothes, go change your clothes. I will comb your hair again now. And, then my the grandfather and father would, my calf muscles, right? Because I would have been running up and down hundreds of times on the basketball court. They would massage my calf muscles and my feet, the men in the family. Why I'm saying is they're such feminists. They cared so much about me. I was no less than any boy or anything. And that kind of high quality of life, right? To be able to give that, it's possible only in a joint family setting. I'll never feel a lack of love from my family because I had that kind of childhood, right? And then when the children grow up, they're more likely to care for you when the time comes. And then we have the right tribe, right? Chitraji, I'm sorry, please, you're welcome to share your thoughts on any of these things.
Yes, ma'am, surely. Whenever and wherever I find like I'll have to ask something, I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, thank you.
You can complete that, then I'll say something.
Yeah, I will, because I want to hear you and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Every morning at 5, they would wake us up and send us to grandparents' room, and we would get into the bed with our grandparents and they would tell us Ramayana story every morning. And that time from 5 to 6, my parents would be discussing what is the plan for today, who's going to drop the children where, this and that. And boom, at 6 o'clock, everybody is ready and running out of the door for work, this and that, So it was very difficult. It would have been very difficult to do it if it wasn't a joint family. And I can tell you now, after 30 years of this nuclear family experiment in America, all the social scientists in America are agreeing that joint families are better. I have a lot of data on this. I'll make a note to bring you those studies also. It is unbelievable. But it is best for the children. The children are our future, isn't it? If we don't invest everything that we have in our children, if it's about pride and how I alone can take care of my man, and the man is, okay, fine, I just want the wife to be happy so that we can have sex every night. So whatever she wants, I will go along with it. Look, yes, that is a way of thinking. Nothing wrong with that. But we are seeing that the result on the children is deleterious long term. Here, the proponents of the nuclear family are saying it themselves. I will get you that data. You will not even believe it. It's unbelievable. So the right tribe is the other thing. The world's longest lived people choose or were born into social circles that supported healthy behaviors. Okinawans created MOIs, M-O-A-I-S, MOIs, groups of 5 friends that committed to each other for life. So these 5 friends, no matter what, they would meet every day for that cup of green tea. You know, maybe in each other's houses, maybe in some common, like a pier or in a fishing area or something, whatever it was, they would meet and they would talk. Oh, what did, your child do, your husband do, your wife do, whatever it is, right? And if they're crying or something, whatever, they would support each other. Research from the Framingham studies shows that smoking, obesity, happiness, and even loneliness are contagious. So the social networks of long-lived people have favorably shaped their health behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So hanging out with people, and when they are, when, let us say, one of the friends gets into obesity or into smoking or depression, or one of the friends loses their husband or wife or whatever, then the others are there to cheer them up so that they are not getting into that same downward spiral as their friend. So they're there to keep up the high morale and the high emotional mood and state. And they commit to each other for life, just like a marriage. They commit to the friendship. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Only where they're practicing these kinds of behaviors, they're getting to 100 years or more. So an average person's life expectancy can be expected to increase by 10 to 12 years if we follow
Lord.
these things.
Right, ma'am. And I
Yeah.
want to say for this that this information is really, really important. And I think it should be given to all the educators and to the youth, so that from the very initial stages of their life, they get to know all these things and they can work on it and they can increase
Absolutely.
their lifespan. That the concept of reverse aging can begin from here. So
Yes. This is
yes.
what is causing the older people to live to 100, having all these elements.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
without medicines,
Gee,
without
and
anything that people like Immortality Institute can bring to the table, even without what we can bring to the table, people can live 10 to 12 years more by doing these things.
and it should be it should become the part of curriculum also, so that they can
Curriculum, right?
yes
Right, I agree with you.
regular
You
intervals.
said it. You
Yes, ma'am.
said it from your mouth to God's ears. It should become part of our curriculum.
Gee,
Absolutely.
gee,
I
gee.
couldn't agree more. It is that important, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, ma'am. Right.
I have the further slides, the more slides you see, you'll be so amazed. I'm going to save all the fancy things like senolytics, which are supplements and medicines that destroy aging, for the
Mm-hmm.
next talk, because there is so much material here to cover. I
Right.
cannot even, and yeah. So I just want to cover what we can, right?
Gee, gee,
So,
gee.
okay. Thank you for that. I think you're absolutely right. I think it needs to be part of the school curriculum. This is
Yes,
that important.
yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. These are factors completely
Because
largely within our control.
I think that this 80% rule, what I have listened from your and seen in your slide, I don't think anybody has told us in any of our curriculum or maybe conversation. It is always told, eat with your full stomach and everything.
Stomach.
So
Yeah,
that is something very valuable thing, ma'am.
absolutely. Absolutely. I could not agree more. And these simple things, most of them can be done by ourselves. But I'm also going to talk about things that cannot be done by ourselves, that the whole community and country and society has to come together to do, that
Mm-hmm.
will facilitate these things.
Right,
So,
ma'am.
so let's go on to the theories of aging. There is a bit of a YouTube video that we can watch. Are you up for it?
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
Okay. I'm sorry about the ad. Can you see this screen?
Not exactly. It is just the hyperlink that we can see.
That your capacity to respond to external stresses and your capacity.
Can you hear it and see it?
Yes, ma'am. It is.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
If you can just increase a bit voice, then
Volume?
Volume. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
With age, you become more vulnerable to diseases. One of the major causes of mortality in elderly is influenza, which is just a common flu. The thing with aging, of course, it entails different levels, different organs and different systems of the body, which makes it very complex and relatively difficult to study. We actually don't know much about aging in the sense of its mechanisms. Why we age, what drives the process of aging from a cell and molecular perspective is still relatively poorly understood. I mean, if you look at it evolutionary, our lifespan only recently has been so long. I mean, the lifespan 150 years ago was something like 40 years old, and 1,000 years ago was maybe 25. When our species evolved, and when most species evolved, most of the animals die when they're young. So there was really no pressure or very weak pressure for us to avoid aging and to live longer. There are hypotheses, for example, that there's damage to DNA that then probably affects cell renewal and stem cells, which in turn prevents repair in the body and contributes to loss of viability. Then there's the free radical theory of aging. This idea that as mitochondria in our cells, as they burn energy with oxygen, it generates these very highly reactive compounds, which creates damaging oxidative stress, which in turn accumulates with age, and that's the cause of aging. There's also things like the telomeres. So telomeres are the tips of chromosomes, and they shorten with cell division. But because it occurs with age as well, people say, well, maybe this drives the process of aging. So after about age 30, your chances of dying double every 8 years. This is fairly standard for human populations. No matter where you're from or where you live in a third world country that may have higher mortality to begin with, but you'll still see this exponential increase in mortality. But then you have very unique creatures. One example are birds. Now, birds actually live longer than would be expected for their body size because, they can fly and avoid predators. One of the species that we're interested in is an organism called the naked mole rat, which lives over 30 years. Why? Because it lives in this protective environment. Then there is evolutionary reason, there is evolutionary pressure to live longer. One of the interesting things about the naked mole rat is that it's extremely cancer resistant. There's not been a single case of cancer in hundreds of naked mole rats. So longevity is plastic. Not only there are species that live much longer time than we do, but there are species that appear not to age, like some species of turtles. Probably one of the greatest breakthroughs in the field so far is that you can manipulate individual genes, and this has a very significant impact on aging. We know, for instance, that if you start manipulating DNA repair systems, sometimes, say, for example, in mice, you get what looks like accelerated aging. On the other hand, you can turn off a single gene in mice, like growth hormone receptor, and increase lifespan by 50%. There's also interventions that modulate aging. So the most famous of them all is caloric restriction, restricting the amount of calories animals eat while keeping nutrients like vitamins and minerals healthy. And this has been known for decades to extend lifespan in rodents, like 50%. And they're healthier for longer, and it's quite impressive. So one of the things, for instance, our lab does is, well, if you know of a gene that mediates the effects of caloric restriction, then it may be a suitable target for you to develop drugs that target that gene in order to have the same effects of caloric restriction without you having to go on a diet, which, let's face it, most people don't want to. We do a mixture of bioinformatics and experimental work. We try to look for common patterns amongst these genes as a way to try to identify new genes that modulate longevity, and we want to identify which genes are regulating the other genes. So key regulators of the whole pathways. And the thing to remember about aging in general is that it's very time-consuming and expensive to do experiments. That's one of the problems of aging research. If you could slow down the process of aging just by 7 years, this would reduce in half the incidence of age-related diseases at every single age. This would have a massive impact on human lifespan and on human health. I generally make the analogy of the Wright brothers. They used to look at birds and they said, listen, there are birds, they are heavier than air and they can fly. So if birds can fly, so can we make airplanes. There's no law of nature that says that aging is immutable. On the contrary, what we know now is that aging is surprisingly plastic. in the sense that it can be manipulated by genes, it can be manipulated by evolution, and it can be manipulated by diet. When I was younger, I think maybe 10 years old, I realized that everyone ages and dies. And I thought, well, why should that be? I mean, can't we do something about it? So I thought, well, I'll do it. I'll study aging and I'll figure it out and I'll find a solution for it so people don't have to age and die.
So now you have two cats.
Yes. Go ahead.
No, ma'am, I was not, that sound came from the video itself.
Okay. Sorry about that. I thought you were saying something, Chitraji.
No, ma'am, but the video is very interesting to watch.
Interesting, right? What the latest aging research is going on, right?
Yes.
And the immortality is a totally different thing, which is what we are talking about. It's even different than aging and preventing death or reversing aging. It is actually coming at it from a totally different angle on this. And so I am really looking forward to sharing those concepts with you next time. We are only in part 3 of our aging, and we have 13 parts to go, 13. So we have so many theories, 13 theories of aging that we have, and the pillars of, and then how the blue zones are. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of material here. So what would you like to do, Chitraji? Would you like to continue this?
If you allow me, ma'am, we'll continue this in the subsequent part of our webinar.
Okay, absolutely. So I just wanted to share with you that there is a lot of information. It is a lot of this is new information. Some of it is old information. When we do aging reversal, we will be talking about all these theories. What are the things, the calorie study, we will be talking about those other, the multiple choice question that we looked at, how each of those elements influences aging and which is the single most important element that influences aging and how to do it correctly. So we will be imparting all this knowledge to the coaches first, and then the coaches will be training their either their students who are young, or they will be training their students who are middle-aged or older, who are interested in living longer, healthier lives, maybe coming off some of their medications, maybe being more active, having a second chance at doing things right in their lives. So we would respectfully and most lovingly and humbly submit this to our brethren in India that yes, you don't have to age. You do have a second chance at life. It is possible to get into medical college at 40 or 50 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen it here, so it is possible, I know. And it is our duty to make that happen for you. And we will do that by training these coaches in everything that they need to know so they can make it possible for our brothers and sisters in India.
Sure, ma'am. One last question for this webinar I would like to ask you. You have talked about immortality. I would like to ask that is the present science and the research has gone to that level that immortality can be possible?
Okay, so I was going to save that for our next session. Okay. But in all humility and respect, I believe I have cracked the code to human biological immortality. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a very fascinating area, and I want to share all of my thoughts and findings with you if I can on the next session. Sure, so human biological immortality is quite different from aging and chronic medical disease. Mm-hmm. It's a totally different area of medical research. Mm-hmm. And by working in this area for almost 30 years now, as different as a trainee, and then as a medical doctor, and then as a researcher in basic sciences, biological sciences, in multiple areas, and then thinking about it and really trying to get the whole concept together about what causes death. Mm-hmm. So there is a theory of human biological immortality, and that is the thing for which I've been working to get research funding from people. And I know that if we can prove our theory that the sky is the limit, it will really raise the ceiling in a very high level. And I've presented this theory to many people, here in America, including some top people who have asked to meet with me. I've had people who are congressmen who summoned me to Congress to tell them about what to do for the pandemic when it first started. I have had congressmen visit me in Houston and ask to meet with me to find out what I'm doing with Immortality. So I've told them, and at the end of the meeting, they say, I said, I've tried to publish this. Now it looks like I have to start my own journal. I have to put my own, everything, findings and all this in my own journal. Now I have to generate my own funds, which I'm doing. So, everything, it looks like people, and he said, well, you know why they didn't accept it in the journal? I said, no, why? Is it because it was not in the right format? And he says, no, because it's unbelievable. And I said, and I'm thinking to myself, why is it unbelievable, right? If I was a 6'5" green-eyed, blonde-haired white man and I was saying this, it would not be so unbelievable. But I'm not saying it's because of race. I'm just saying they need data. And they need to see data. They need to see the effectiveness of my theory. I know it works. I have no doubt about it. I know it's real. In fact, when I speak it out, many people will say, oh, this is so obvious, it's intuitive. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not obvious or intuitive. And it has taken many years of breaking one's head, and it's original because the US and other patent offices have given it a patent globally. So yeah, I would love to discuss that on our next session. It's a totally different concept than even aging and chronic medical illness, human biological immortality. Yeah.
One more question has come. I want to take that. So,
please,
as an educator, if we
yes.
need to understand, the question is that as an educator, if we need to understand that why a reverse aging is appropriate to teach or to be known by educators and to the schooling and to the education, why is that so?
Yes, thank you. This is a beautiful and such a significant and important question. I really appreciate whoever it was that had this deep vision and thought process to ask this question. Thank you for your wonderful question. We are seeing, since the pandemic, the life expectancy in the US at the highest was 82 years. And now it has dropped to 76.6 years just in the last 2-3 weeks. So it has already come down by 6 years, life expectancy. Some of the greatest things people do are in their 70s and in their 80s. You can see the President of the United States is 78 years old. And if we were to lose those years of our life, or if we could not be healthy, that man is in incredibly good health because he's had the discipline of iron discipline. For 50 years, he has gone every day to the gym in the morning at 4 to 5, worked out with weights and run on the treadmill, and he eats only this much for each meal. He's fasting regularly. He's meeting people socially. He's done that for 50 years. So there are people who may not have the knowledge. There are people who may not have the discipline. There are people who may not have the understanding. Once they get the understanding, then they'll be able to get the knowledge and the discipline. So the understanding is crucial. Are these people inferior? I'm one of them. Are we inferior? I would say no. We just didn't have the knowledge in the right time. We didn't have the understanding of why it is important to be like this. We didn't have the feedback mechanism in place in a timely manner to prevent ill health or more rapid aging. And so if technically all things were equal, I could not be the president because of aging or disease or what. I could not function like him at the age of 78 because I didn't have the knowledge. So the knowledge and the awareness and the understanding at an early age in life, it makes it more possible to choose those habits that when they are done every day for, a week, 10 days, 2 months, 2 years, they give that additional 10, 12, 15, 20 years of life, of healthy life, health span.
Right.
So that knowledge has to be imparted. It has got to be understood. It has got to be reinforced. It has got to be repeated in all sorts of colorful, interesting, beautiful, creativity awakening ways. And once it is internalized, once it is understood, once that knowledge is gone in, Why will our children and our older people not take up those habits that give them better health, that make them older people, it will make them maybe come off medications. For the children, it will make sure that they don't get sick. So many of our young people are dying in their 30s here in America of colon cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, heart attacks from obesity. They're falling dead in their 20s. Why? Because their parents and their grandparents didn't have this knowledge.
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it? Kidney failure, young people. That is why I was given, I mean, I'm one of the people, I'm sure there are other people too. When I was given the mission to study human biological immortality, I asked God, do we not have enough of a population? Why should we keep everybody alive longer? And the answer was, because children are dying young. You need to stop that. Otherwise, you see the soul's karma, right? It's not exhausted. The previous time's karma is not exhausted in this birth. I mean, if you look at it from sort of a spiritual and a philosophical context. Right. So now the child's soul is carrying this life's karma and the previous life's karma. Imagine the burden with which the next birth is taken. Now, this is not scientific for most Western medicine people, but for me, it made sense to study human biological immortality based on that understanding that, when you have a conversation with God, you get some, when once you understand your purpose, then you're able to go out there and do it. So for me, I had to understand why I had to do that. Then I was able to do it. And that was the explanation that made the most sense to me. And you have people in their 50s, they've spent their whole life, they suddenly have a heart attack. They don't know what they did wrong. And there's a lot of anger and upset, hurt feelings. The husband is angry with the wife. You made me go work until midnight every night so that you could have this nice sari for Deepavali and this nice jeweler set from Tanishq or whatever. I'm just saying, I don't know what people are gifting each other for Deepavali. But what I'm saying is it's like that kind of pressure and that hurt feelings. Or suddenly somebody drops dead, the husband drops dead, or the wife gets breast cancer or something, some terrible thing happens. And nobody knows where it started, why it happened, and how to change that. How it's not just young children that are dropping dead. People in their middle ages are not getting a second chance at being healthy for the rest of the 30, 40, 50 years, leading their full lifespan. That's not fair to them. All the early part, they worked really, really hard to make financial stability and to give the children a education and a life and to provide food for the family and everything. They did all that, didn't they? Then it's our duty as caring, loving members of society to take care of them, to give them a second chance at health and healthy lifespan, full lifespan. So that's why it is important to study it. That's why it's important to teach it. That's why it's important to understand and know it. And that understanding and knowledge will turn into self-change and creating the habits for ourselves that will make it possible for us to live a long, healthy life.
So true, ma'am. And we are really thankful to you that every week you bring valuable information for us and purposeful information for us. And
absolutely,
I would like to say this to my audience, that we all have to take benefit of what ma'am is telling us. This is really worth listening to, and not just listening to, but following in our life is very important if we have to live a healthy, purposeful, happy and long life. So thank you so much, ma'am. We'll meet you, next week, and we'll wait eagerly for the weekend next week so that we can hear more things from you. Thanks for your valuable time.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Jai Hind, God bless India, God bless America. We be praying all the time. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity. And I think about Gulshan Ji every day. My heart is with Gulshan Ji. I'm thinking about him and praying for him every day. I want him to come out of this terrible challenge that has come upon his family and him. Since I have entered into this, it makes me feel a tremendous amount of guilt and worry and shame. And I really hope that he comes out of this soon. I think about him every day. I'm taking action for him and praying for him every day. I just am praying that he comes out of this soon and resumes these sessions. And Gulshan Ji, if you can hear me, please know that I'm I'm praying for you and really hoping for you to see your kind and smiling and affectionate face soon here on these sessions. And thank you, Chitraji, for so wonderfully supporting him and for being such a wonderful, caring and loving, affectionate sister and just a wonderful fellow companion in life here and a friend. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your blessings, and have a